Well, happy holidays of the month of December here. I was gonna say chat, but I didn't want this. This isn't stream. Oh my god! Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Roll to Talk. Where you gotta roll to talk, everybody. Add that proficiency, you get an advantage in this place. I am Dice&Autism, he, they, and with me is our lovely, lovely co-host, Witty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Please don't mind me with my allergies. I'm very stuffy today.
It is all good.
The holidays are a holiday-in.
Exactly. And sometimes the holidays can be brutal and everything, especially when you're in the Midwest and snow is coming, and it's not the fun snow. It's like that crunchy, powdery ice snow. Yes?
I was so mad yesterday. So, I'm in the South, and I've grown up in Tennessee pretty much my whole life. So, we've gotten snow before. And Nashville sometimes gets, good snow. And we had, little snowflakes falling, and I was like, yes. And then it just turned to absolute just torrential rain, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I was so mad. And I knew it wasn't gonna stick anyway, but I just wanted to watch the snow fall. Nope, can't even have that. Anyway, I'm mad.
It's all good. I mean, you could just have a holiday vacation home or anything, and then somewhere in that snows and stuff and everything. So,
yeah, I'm a little jealous of Chicago with their big snow that they got.
Oh yeah, how much snow did they get?
Oh, I have no idea. It was a lot.
Oh, well, I hope the plowers are doing good and everything. Oh god, I hope.
I'm sure there's someone in Chicago being like, "That's not a lot," and I'm like, "It's a lot to me."
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's get on track here and everything.
Yes, exactly.
We can talk about. God, if there was a snow TTRPG, well, there is Frostdale, but we're not talking about that.
There's also, I think I mentioned last episode to serve her wintry hunger. So
yes,
there are plenty of snowy, icy RPGs for your holiday shenanigans, tabletop shenanigans.
Exactly. But yes, today we are going to be talking about Session Zero. It's one of the more important tools when it comes to D&D or any tabletop RPGs because it very much sets kind of the basis, foundation of your game and everything. And we did talk about it during our RPG Safety Tools episode, which you should go totally check out. It's the first episode of the first season, so...
Safety tools always necessary.
Exactly. They are non-negotiable. If you have a DM who's saying we don't need safety tools, I'm gonna need you to run and then summon me, and then I can just be yeet them into the black hole until they realize they made a boo-boo mistake.
Just sit in the black hole and think about what you did.
Exactly. It's like a sensory deprivation timeout square, pretty much. You get no visual stimulants for a while until you realize, oh no, I'd have made a mistake.
This is what we put the player into dice jail.
Exactamundo. So, yeah, with Session Zero and everything, it's important to do those because you're pretty much kind of it's your pitch to the entire party. It is your elevator pitch, and then
I'll say on elevator pitch, one of the things I really like to do for Session Zero is say where my inspiration as a DM came from. So if this campaign is going to be heavily inspired by Zelda or The Last Airbender, I'd like to include that. Or if it's going to be inspired by Stephen King. Disclaimer, no game of mine will ever be Stephen King inspired. I am a chicken.
Yep.
So
that's fair.
But there are so many other things that you can use as inspiration, and I think that really helps to set a tone for what we're doing, so that you don't have edgy edgelord supreme. My entire family was killed, and I don't trust anybody, and then a joke named character who is probably played by Sam Riegel.
Yeah, definitely. Establishing kind of what stuff has inspired your campaign in the Session Zero also really does help out a lot with how players can build their characters around it and stuff. It gives them the other nice roadmap to go along with that and everything. And yes, it will help prevent the sad, edgy character loners and maybe some joke characters, but hey, sometimes the joke characters will happen, and then that's just the challenge of the DM of like, all right, I'm gonna need you to also give me some depth of this character, otherwise we cannot do Chuckles the Clown for like 90 sessions. We could,
right,
but probably not.
and again, like, you can have a joke character and an edgy edgelord in the same campaign. Like, that's not necessarily the problem. But if you're really going for something like dark and serious and earnest kind of vibe, yeah, you probably don't want the joke character at that particular table, especially if you're running a shorter campaign, or a campaign for public consumption, because you're really trying to like do a, you know, capital N narrative TM, you know?
Yes.
These are just things to have as a conversation at your session zero, is like, what are your goals with this game? Is it going to be for public consumption? And what does that mean for how you create your characters and your world?
Yeah, and I think it's also important with session zeros, having that conversations of like, what are the stories you want to be told, and what are like the themes that you want to explore as well, because the DM will have like kind of like the core themes of like the campaign, but if there's like some aspects of that core theme that the players are kind of like, but can we kind of explore like this angle of it? And then I feel like that's the DMs also be like, yeah, sure, we can like redirect that and everything. So I think that's also important when it comes to session zero.
And I think to setting goals as well, something that can really be very helpful for a DM, or at least how in the way I DM, is if your character has like an ideal ending for them, or if a player has an ideal ending for their character, that's how I meant to phrase that. Then share that with the DM. Like, if everything goes perfectly for your character, how does their story end?
Yes.
And so then you can kind of work towards that, and the DM has a lot more to play with. And also because, you know, we joke that, like, the DM gets your backstory and goes, I'm gonna mess him up.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot of stuff to make that ideal ending go horribly wrong.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Can you just imagine the DM just, like, getting the character's backstory sheet and being like, yeah, sure. And then, like, also doing, like, It's like, it's like that dramatic dark lighting up to the face and just being like, I will prevent them from having their happy ending.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to be glorious.
And that's another thing to discuss in your session zero, is how antagonistic do you want your DM to be?
Yes.
You know, are there certain characters that are, like NPCs related to your backstory that are important to you? Let's say your character has a child or a little sibling, and you're like, okay, like, you can mess with everybody else, but whatever happens, do not kill that character.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there are certain things that, like, that's the whole point of that character, and so, like, you want to have that discussion to let them know this is the ideal scenario, and it doesn't have to play out like this, but this thing has to stay constant.
Yeah.
If that's important to you.
Exactly. I feel like it's okay. It's not okay. It is necessary for players to say of like where the limits of DMs can go for like during session zeros, or even how players can like interact with their other NPCs that are associated with them, since they're kind of like the very core pillars and stuff. And having those boundaries just make it even more like fun and like be able to do. And as a DM, if you have those established boundaries and everything, you are able, you want them to be interact with the plot somehow and have some raised conflicts. There are other ways you can do it. You don't have to like point the death gun at them and being like, hey, there are other ways to like go at it. Maybe the character, the player and the character and the NPC are starting to veer off, and you see that they're trying to like get them back on the path, one of them, or like they're just like they're starting to butt heads a little bit, and it's kind of like that growing pains of like sometimes strip away, or there's just other ways you can do it, homies. There's just other ways. I believe you can do it.
There's Critical Role did this really well, I think, with Percy's story when Cassandra came in. So spoilers if you have not watched the Briarwood arc from Critical Role.
Yes.
But like, Cassandra doesn't die, but Cassandra does have that moment where she's like brainwashed by the Briarwoods, and so Percy has to deal with losing his sister without actually losing her, and that's far more interesting than the Briarwoods killed her in front of him.
Exactly.
Because like they already did that. That's not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
And then she perpetually is put in danger over and over and over again because she is important to Percy. In the finale, so again, spoilers for Critical Role Campaign 1.
Yes.
When they're going to fight Vecna, they've abducted Cassandra, Gilmore, and Vex and Vax's sister, whose name I do not remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's the three of them, and it was pretty dire for a second.
Yep.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
It's much more interesting to play with those rather than just bring out the axe.
Exactly. Like with Not and her husband from campaign 2 of Critical Role, how that was dealt with and how they like went through the tunnels, get to the Kryn dynasty, and Jester having like these constant sending messages to him and just like having like that narrative go on of like, hey, he's kind of like in a bad place. There's not like the axe is going to be dropped, but he's in a bad place. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also very good as well. And also, they don't have to be utterly dramatic and everything. I feel like Critical Role again with campaign 2 of how Marion Lavore and the Gentleman kind of like their conflict and everything and storyline of how kind of like Jester was putting the pieces and wanting really much to like help out with like her mom and dad to get back together, but it was also kind of like not high stakes, but it was like the emotional stakes of trying to get that back together. And it's like, that's also something you can do. Not everything needs to be like 10 out of 10, like up the dial to the max and everything. You can do the subtleness and like that still affects the emotional drive.
And I'll say too, plenty of people before me have said this as well, but like if you are constantly at a 10, then it doesn't really have the same impact. And smaller moments that are dialed down to like a 2 or a 3 can have just as much impact as a 10 when used properly. Exactly.
Variety is the spice of life. Variety is the spice of life, people. Mm-hmm.
It's not to be like, too therapeutic or whatever, but like if you're always happy, do you know what it is to be unhappy or vice versa?
Exactly.
Like, anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
But something else that Critical Role does really well, especially with their Session Zeros, is establishing a relationship between the PCs.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think they did this, obviously Campaign 1 kind of started in the middle after they'd done it as a home game for a while.
Yeah.
So we don't really have we don't have the best read on that one. We know that Vex and Vax are twins. Grog and Pike travel together. Yep. But if I recall, everybody else kind of came in separate as their own character separately. But then in Campaign 2, they did it where Yasha and Molly knew each other.
Yep.
Caleb and Knott, Jester and Ford. Oh my God. one of my favorite characters, and here I am like, huh?
How dare you?
I know. Yeah. But yeah, so like everyone kind of like not paired off, but everybody had like a group that they were a part of. And that goes a step further in Campaign 3 with, I'm so not caught up. With Imogen and Laudna are together, and then FCG and, it's Talison's character. It's like Ashton or something.
Ashton. Yep.
Is it Ashton? Oh my gosh.
It is.
I was like, I think it's Ashton, but it's Meganette.
Oh, it is Ashton.
Yes! Thank you, Memory Banks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something that happens a lot in those. I think that like Dimension 20 does this a lot too, especially because they do shorter form campaigns.
Yes.
And usually with a very like particular theme. I think of like Crown of Candy and how all of the player characters are either part of this family or adjacent to the family. Like the the captain of the guard, they're like particular family priest or whatever. Like everyone's connected to the family, the ruling family of Candia. And then you have it again with Fantasy High, how they're all high school students. They're all in classes together. So there's easy ways for these characters to like know each other and therefore have a bit more stake in, what happens to their fellow PCs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like that's also like a nice like discussion when you're having these talks with the players during System Zero of being like, hey, do we know each other and everything? You can also talk about like what part of their backstory the other players know and stuff and everything. Like you don't have to share your entire backstory. Like it's okay to like hide the few like nuggets in there when you're ready to like put in the chamber and then like pull the trigger on that. But if like because that also feels like more authentic as like relationships, because some characters will know other secrets of other characters and stuff and everything depending on the level of trust and everything, and I feel like that's kind of like a nice way of like that bonding and everything, you know?
Yeah, it's like I joke with a lot of people. It's like your secret is safe with me and my mom, my sister, and my boyfriend. Like
exactly.
So like, you know, there are things that I tell the closest people to me in my life that I don't tell the whole world, and there's things I tell one friend that I don't tell another, not because like, you know, oh, I'm keeping it from my friend. It's just it just didn't come up that way, and you know, maybe I forgot to mention this detail, or you know, whatever. There's things we tell people that travel with us longer, and you know, it's kind of like the small talk thing. You gotta get through small talk before you can get to the deep dark secrets.
Exactly, exactamundo. And I also think with players like establishing things, I feel like also like being able for players to also during Session Zero to like contribute to the world with their NPCs that they're special to their backstory, or like even like some aspects of like towns they come into and thinking like, hey, I might know some people in this town, or this is where the town that I'm from, and like really adding to that world building for the DM to be like, ooh, there are more colors and like tools and stuff we can play with and everything. Let's dance.
This is something else I mentioned in the last episode about other TTRPGs, but A Quiet Year has been used a lot in Session Zeros to expand on your world building and have a more collaborative influence, I think is the word I'm thinking of. And there's different tabletop RPGs that also foster that throughout the game. Wild Sea from MythWorks is one of those. And so that's why I remember playing that, and the system itself like demands collaborative world building as you play. And then another thing, this is not so much like world building, but it does help is, and again, something else I've talked about on here before is the Session Zero system from Mythic Grove. And so, especially if you are not sure how to connect your different players and their backstories, like especially if they're not really sure what the backstory should be, whip that puppy out. I'm in my home game right now. I had it where like several people had interacted with each other, either in the, you know, for a long time or a short time, once or ongoing, it doesn't matter. But like several of my players ended up getting connected through what they pulled in the Session Zero system.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, Zelda. My cat just like popped in and started wailing. Oh god! For our video watchers and everything, you can see the hi. Yeah, can you hear her?
I did. Yes.
Yes, that is her. That is one of her epic meows. She also quacks.
She's so round.
Yep, yeah. She, like we said, she just curvy. She very, very curvy.
She's got that winter coat on now, so she round.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, hi, Zizi. Oh yes. Yeah. Hi. Okay.
But also, I'll say too on the Session Zero. I'll say too on the Session Zero system and its usage in my home games is this is, if any of my players are watching, turn it off right now.
You are legally required to turn your video off, or just skip this part.
Yeah, skip it by like 20, 30 seconds. But it has connected a few of the villains and their backstories as well. Because I was like, what if these were all the same person? So
yeah, definitely. And like also, if there are villains or like adversaries of your like PCs in there, and that also really helps out with like Session Zeros of like building that world, building that session. And also like you can also like the DM asks like, hey, would your like BBEGs know each other, or like what's a if the BBG has like an idea for like, hey, I kind of want to make like a rival like group or like a reoccurring, not major villain, but more kind of like that annoying person that everyone fucking hates, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna punch that guy. I feel like that's also yeah, I feel like that's something that everybody in the players could do at Session Zero to like build and make that community and stuff and everything. Ooh, actually, that'd be really cool to do as like a nice like team bonding tool for like Session Zero to brain blast. Oh my god.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
I'll say too on villains and players, you can definitely come back now if you haven't already.
Yes.
But this is one thing I think is a very fine line to walk when it comes to like player backstories. And this is up to your DM as well. Like some DMs love a 20-page backstory.
Yes.
And I feel very intimidated by a 20-page backstory because at that point I'm like, I think you just want to write a book. Like
pretty much.
And, like, I'm happy to play with that, but, again, kind of going back to what I said about if you have, like, a hard line, like, this character needs to be okay, we need to kind of do the same thing here. Which pieces of this am I allowed to play with and break? And which pieces of this need to stay pristine?
Exactly.
Especially if you're going to give me that amount to work with, because I did have a player one time give me, I think, 8 pages of a very, very detailed backstory, and I was like, I can't do this justice in an improv setting.
Yes.
That is not what you want here, and like that's fine, but let's talk about that. Let's figure out what can be broken and what can't.
Exactly.
And so I think that's, check with your DM how much information they actually need. I've talked about this before on this podcast, that I really like to, like, the critical piece that I need is why are you adventuring and how do you feel about it? Is it positive or negative or neutral? Like that's what I need. And if you have bonus stuff that you want to share, great. But that's not necessary for me to run a game with your character.
Yeah.
Helpful,
for me,
not necessary.
Yeah, like 20-page like backstories is like, first off, I'm impressed. I was like, yeah, and then I'm also like, okay, I see that you really love this character and story that you're putting with him. I'm going to encourage you to make like a novella so that way you can fulfill all that stuff. But with like TTRPGs, I'm going to like encourage you to like, all right, let's streamline this into a 1-page, 2-page, maybe document, and then like let's have the conversation as the DM and players to be like, all right, what are the like you said, what are the things we can break and do and all that stuff and everything and all that stuff.
Yeah. I do feel like the character backstory, it's very helpful if it's like resume cover letter.
Oh yeah. Another brain blast. Oh my god. That would be so cool if like more D&D TTRPG people did that. Can you imagine? I was like, all right, before you go into this game, I need you to apply for your character. I need their resume, their skills, their attributes, their references.
Which, back when I was on the World Guild, like that is kind of what we did. It was, please send in your character pitch for the game that I've proposed, and then you picked the ones that fit that the best.
Okay. Oh my god.
And I ran Dragon Age, so I just kind of took what I could get. No one wanted to play Dragon Age, so I was like, I got 3 people, and I'm gonna roll with it.
Exactly. Exactamundo. Oh my god, that is so cool. I'm gonna. Hey, World Tree Quest and everything. Bran, you wanna like talk shop where we could like design like a reference like resume for backstory stuff for players? We could do that, homie.
yeah. Bran was in the World's Guild too, so this is
okay.
Ages ago.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh, load it. Go watch out. Shout out to the World Guild and World Tree Quest and everything. Go watch your
two different groups, but shout out to both.
Yeah, shout out to both, and also friendly reminder: watch your smaller AP content creators and everything. They deserve the love too. So
also, if you watch World Tree Quest on Saturdays, you'll see me.
Exactly. You go support Witty X Switch. Go support her and all the cool stuff that she does.
Anyway, there's my premature plug.
Exactly. Yeah. But what I was going to say and everything, it was like on the tip of my tongue. I think something that's also important with Session Zero is that we do multiple Session Zeros. It's because it has the number of 0 in it and everything does not mean it's a one and done deal. You could do that for like a one shot, yes. Mini campaign, possibly, depending on the length of the mini campaign. If it's like 6 episodes, yeah. If it's like 20 episodes, you're gonna need like 2 and everything. Longer ones, I'm gonna say 3. 3 at the minimum. And then as like the campaign goes on and everything, have those reoccurrences and zeros to be like, all right, the world has kind of changed drastically depending on your choices and the dice rolls or what happened in that messy combat that may have been too like overwhelming for your levels and stuff, and I may have TPK'd some people, but that's okay. What do we want to do?
I do think that like a good rule of thumb for repeat Session Zeros is like, every 10 episodes, anytime there's a character death, whether that's a, beloved NPC that's been there for a minute or an actual like player character. Either one, if there's a character death that isn't just a one and done bandit type character, because those don't count.
Damn.
I mean they don't. Like, who gets attached to the bandit on the road? Really really, truly. I'm sure they have families that are upset, but we don't have to explore that because it's all fiction.
The bandit's partner is now crying in whatever universe that just died and everything.
And
it's
is
like,
now the big bad. But you get what I'm saying. Like, if you're talking about like Cassandra Derolo, for example, or Adine's sister in Dimension 20, like these types of characters, or a PC character, like that's a good time to have a session zero check-in. I recently had a game where there was a line that was crossed that I did not know was a line for me, and so then we had to kind of redo the whole thing once again. And so that's also a good time if you either you do something or another player does something and you realize that somebody at the table is uncomfortable. Or you notice it or they tell you, whatever. If it is made clear that someone is uncomfortable, it's a good time to do another Session Zero. Also, after big milestones for each character. So like I said about you're like sending a ideal ending for your character to your DM. Let's say that you get a really good chunk of getting to be the main character for a little while. Like, this is your character's arc that you're doing. Okay, let's do Session Zero again. Has their ideal ending changed?
That is also a factor in everything that comes to it, because not everything's going to go to plan, especially in a game that involves like chances and like probability with these clickety clacks and everything. So it's probably going to get altered and everything, or like the character grows from their original goal and you're like, ooh, I want to talk and be kind of like, things have changed drastically. Let's re-aspect this storyline or my character and everything, and see what we can do with it and stuff. But I want to jump back a little bit when you were talking about like when lines get crossed and everything. I think it's also important as well when you're doing your Session Zero with the players and stuff, that the players also communicate the general big no-nos for their lines and veils of their like stuff they're good and not good with and all that stuff. Like, you don't need to go into like details, or like if there's like a specific one you want to remain anonymous and stuff, talk with the DM and they can like totally like make like a doc sheet or like a channel on Discord or whatever, and just be kind of like the list of like, hey, here are all the big no-nos not to cross and do and everything and all that stuff. So
Yep. Another thing, if you're doing games in person, I will show this off again, is the deck of player safety. And so this literally a deck of cards with pre-written options on there. Get this out. Let's see. They've got blank ones, so you can dry erase on there if there's something not included. But it also has imprisonment, anything goes, It's a lot of anything goes. Torture, swearing, sexual innuendo, PvP, law enforcement. Like, all of these are in here. And so if you're doing a home game in person, or, I mean, even a, production game in person, if you're in person and can use physical cards, you just go through it really, really quick. You pull the ones that apply to you, hand them back to the DM, and then pass the deck to the next person. And then they pull the cards that apply to them. They pass it to you. Yeah. And again, they have anything goes in here. So if you, you are, quote unquote, required to at least pull one card.
Yeah.
It can be a blank one and you write your own thing, or you can pull anything goes or whatever. So that way, if someone doesn't pull a card, no one's getting put on blast.
Exactly. Definitely. Yeah.
It's a great tool.
I need to get it is on my shopping list of things to get and all that stuff. So it's on my site. Yes, and I'm just like, hey. Okay, yeah. I think also when it comes to session zeros, I think it's important for also to kind of establish with session zero is it's kind of like the general world history presentation from the DM of all right, here's the world, here's the structure and everything. And also here's wiki docs, Loreforge, World Anvil, wiki reference for the world and everything, so everyone can be reference and everything, because there's a lot of information and stuff that happens in your games and stuff. Not everyone's going to have the perfect memory, so it's important to also kind of establish the core rule, not the core rule, the core history of it, the core society, core culture of it, and have that reference sheet for the players to access and stuff. So yeah.
You fully read my mind, because that was exactly what I was going to say next.
Hells yeah! Whoa.
But yeah, it's some games you want to do low magic. Think more the Eberron setting, and not that that's necessarily low magic, but it's more pulpy. More everyday, mundane magics. And then you have some that are magic is this mystical Merlin thing. And so what are we doing here? What's the vibe of what we want out of magic? And so thinking about the Dragon Age setting, because obsessed.
Yes.
Magic in that, okay, if you're gonna do a Dragon Age inspired TTRPG, if it's not the system itself in actual Thetis, well, then any magic user is going to be looked at with scrutiny, because that's what Thetis and Dragon Age demands. That is that is the lore, that is the world, that is the plot. And if you are doing a Dragon Age setting, I highly recommend Gilder Thalin on YouTube. She does these wonderful lore videos, and whenever I'm doing a Dragon Age game with new players that do not know anything about Dragon Age, I have them make their character, and then I send them every single lore clip that their character would know.
Exactly.
And it's led to some really great roleplay moments, especially from people who don't know the system, or don't know the lore. But the same goes for D&D, whether you're homebrewing it or otherwise. Are the gods real? Are they, are they something different than actual deities? What does that mean? How is magic viewed in this world? How is royalty viewed in this world? This was a thing that I had a question in a recent game of mine. It was kind of more a political intrigue, and one of the royal family was killed, and I was like, okay, so what's the line of succession look like? That's the first question. Is it an election like in Naboo in Star Wars? Do you elect the monarch? Or is it divine? It's not provenance. That's not the word I'm thinking of. But the primogenitor. Primogenitor.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Where it goes from firstborn to firstborn to firstborn. How does this work? Those are all excellent questions to ask and to know, so that when your players ask, you'll have the answer.
Yeah.
So sorry, DMs, you do have homework to do.
Yes, as a DM in general, you have homework to do and everything. You gotta do all the things that makes the gear running and everything. You're operating the ship. There are the modules out there are and other rules, books and everything that helps you kind of guide it and everything. There's a structure and parts and everything, but you're gonna have to put the parts into the frame, gear it up, put the graphics on your hollow stickers and everything, make it look fancy, and then pull the ignition. I know how to do cars. I know cars operations. I'm a man. No, I'm not. But you got to put the keys.
You weren't just born knowing how to do cars.
Like, isn't that like one of the qualities that men's supposed to do? And I think like Fast and Furious style, it's all about family, man.
And then Megan Fox happened in Transformers.
Oh god. Okay. Well, no, her character was actually like pretty goddamn knowledgeable about the cars and everything, and it was like, honestly, Michael Bay, I will never forgive you of like dumbing down that character as everything goes on and everything. She deserved to be the smart and everything. Could you imagine her being like the engineer of the Transformers and being like helping them out, like repair and everything after the big fight with the Decepticons? Oh my god, that would have been so cool. Sorry.
Can you imagine if Transformers had been more of like mid 2000s Cartoon Network cartoon? She would have been like Audrey from Atlantis.
Oh, fuck yeah. God, I will never forgive how Hollywood treated just Megan Fox in general. Jennifer Body is so fucking good, and I will not forgive how the public was like, this is mid. It's like, no, you do not deserve this! Sorry.
Yeah, like I have not, again, I'm a chicken, I've not seen that movie, but I have read a lot about it because I'm very intrigued with the concept. I'm a chicken, so I can't watch it. But all that to say is reading about it, like, yes, this movie slaps. And if you don't get it, it's not for you. You just don't get it. And I think maybe you should read more.
Exactly. Exactly. Media literacy
anyway,
applies to every... We're talking about tabletop RPGs here.
We've been all over the place today.
Well, yeah, I think it's like that final episode chaotic energy and everything of how to like, hey, we're the final episode of the season and everything. So it's almost like senioritis, but it's all connected some. It's a little, it's like that, but we're making sure all of it all connected and stuff and everything. So yeah.
So speaking of like DM's homework, so obviously there's different settings that do different things. Like there's Eberron, which is more pulpy. There's Forgotten Realms, which is more classic high fantasy, if you will. And then you've got stuff that's really more grounded, like Nations and Cannons. And there's also like Mythic Odysseys of Theros, if you want more like the Odyssey. Like there's so many different ways to like, and this is just in D&D specific, obviously. See our last episode for all the other games you can play for different things. But I think it's very important as a DM to have your vibe very clearly in your mind. And again, like I said at the top, I like to tell my players what the inspirations are so that they know kind of what we're doing. But with that said, speaking more onto the DM homework, what are things the DM should have either, like clipped their screen or whatever? What other things should the DM have prepped for their own sanity in session 0?
I feel like what DMs should be prepping is very much like the world that you're building should be at least about 80% cooked or like structured and everything. Like you don't have to like put in like the windows or like the tiles and everything. Like the frame is like right there and everything, and then like the rest of the bit comes from like the players and stuff. So you want that world to be pretty well like written out and like thought out in your head. You want your reason, the main like plot reason for your players to be going on to this adventure and everything that all like pretty much connects them together to like unite them as a front. And you want to have like the core NPCs that that they're going to be like maybe like a key side quest that brings them more together and everything, or like these reoccurring NPCs that are going to be like helping out the party, going against the party, and having like the predominant BBEG and how you want like the game to like go to a point and everything. Not like don't go fully rigid and everything, like have it like loose enough bulletin point summary, 3-act structure, summarize what you want it to go and everything. You don't have to reveal all of it and everything, but you want to just have like that core like appetizer pretty much and everything, and then as the game goes, you can give up like the first course, second course, main dish, and then like the side pieces, and then dessert and everything.
Yeah,
so,
I would say it's definitely like having your like if you're developing like a prix fee or a prefix. So I put the X in the wrong spot. It is definitely like, you know, here's the main course, and now we're gonna build the rest of the dinner around that. Mm-hmm. You know, your drinks, your appetizer, your oh god, they call it something else when they're fancy, but I don't remember. But you know, the course in between appetizer and entree. And then dessert, etc. And your digestif or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm totally with that. I do feel a little bit called out because I have not done that in my home game.
No, that's all good.
And I should have. Good. No, it's like, because I totally agree with you. Like, I do so much better when I come in with more prep.
Same.
But I have not done that in this game, and every single time we play, I feel those consequences, and I'm like, dang it. Which is why I love pre-made settings such as the Dragon Age setting and Nations and Cannons and things like that, because they've done the work for me.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think like if that's like kind of like if you need to find a template to like do that as a DM for your Session Zeros, think of it as like a pitch deck and everything. Think of it as kind of like a PowerPoint presentation of like, all right, here's what it is. Next slide. Here what it is, and all that stuff. And then you can also have like the nice fancy graphics to go along with it to entertain the people. Jingle, 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 and everything. And like if you really need like some sort of app or system to like really help you to like do these Session Zeros or prep, like again, there is the stuff that we mentioned before, like the Mythic Works. There is the Quiet Year and all that stuff. And also, I'm just gonna like plug one of my favorite apps that I like to do for it comes to like world building and like keeping a track of like characters or main NPCs you want to do. I like to use LoreForge and everything. This stuff is so good. It is like it categorizes like everything of like, all right, who are the main world? Who's all of this and everything, all that stuff, and you can like put like tags of like what kind of like category they are and everything, you know, like all their stuff and everything. There's also like a free like world building session prepper thing as well called VVD and everything. It's like really, really cool. It's really, really pretty. I just found it like on Instagram and everything, and I took it for a spin. I was like, ooh, this is pretty nice and stuff. So yeah, look into those world building sites as well to help out as a DM if you have like no place to go and stuff and everything. So yeah.
I literally just typed that into Google because I was like, yes. I've also been looking for a new world builder like database because I have all my stuff in Google Docs, and Google's been very stingy with storage lately. So I'm like, okay, I need to move you over.
Yeah, and those sites I mentioned, VVD and LoreForge, they are free. They have like a premium and everything, which they like. I understand of having a premium because you got to make that mummy. Gotta make that mummy for the mummy movies.
Really Egyptian.
Exactly. But
did you hear we're getting a fourth?
I heard that. I am so excited. Like the one with Jet Li in it, like. It was okay. It was like it could have like had like a better script, a better story and everything. But I'm excited to see what's next and everything. But yeah, LoreForge VVD, they have a premium, but the base of it and everything is so much and so good. Like you're gonna be eating good, and you won't feel like pressured to like, hey, I'm gonna need to give the monies so I can get the necessities for like the stuff I need. So yeah. All right. Yeah. So, is there anything else when it comes to Session Zeros you feel like we need to talk about for today and everything?
I don't know if there's too much more. I will say as well, this kind of goes more to like the edgelord thing. And it's just, I think I've said this before, but just something to always keep in mind if you're playing with any character you're playing. So first of all is like your edgelord. I kind of use a rule of 3. If you're playing a character that's like, you know, oh, I don't trust people, blah 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 blah. If you get asked 3 times something about your backstory, you have to provide something on the 3rd time.
Yeah.
Because that's enough to like set that tone of like, I don't know you yet. I'm edgy.
Yeah.
But also still play and not be annoying. And I think this also applies to DMs as well. I've had a few DMs in the past be like, well, you didn't ask the right questions. And I'm like, buddy,
oh no,
I'm not really there. Like,
yeah, not the hairstylist like way of like questionings and stuff. Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, and yeah, sure, maybe I didn't ask the right question, but I think with DMs, like, remember to put information in your player's way.
Yep. Yes.
Oh no, they went off the rails and they're somewhere else entirely. Move that clue over here.
Yeah.
And while that's not so much a session 0, I think it does really set a good tone for the game of making sure information is provided. And that goes for like your lore document. Provide that information. You know, if for your character backstory to other player characters, provide the information. Your NPCs and you need them to go to a certain place, provide the information. Always, always give info.
Exactly. There is never too much information that you can provide to the players or the DMs. The information is pretty much the gold mine of like, all right, this is what we can do. Because sometimes we try to fill the hole of the gaps and everything, and like sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses, and when it misses, sometimes the player can feel like, oh, I can work with this, or it's like, I don't think that actually works with it and stuff and everything. So and then you're going to have to like go back a little bit and then smooth out that edge and everything. So I think that's to do something like that is going to be more helpful in the long run of your games and stuff.
Yeah. And again, I think this is something that's very, it applies to session 0 and applies onwards throughout the whole entire game, is a little metagaming is good, actually.
Yes. Like metagaming so that everyone has fun and that everyone has the opportunity to do things is the best thing, is the best kind of metagaming. So, yeah.
I'm very visual. One of the things that I find very helpful is to have like nuggets of other players' backstories. Not the full thing, but like little nuggets so that my character knows what to ask.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, again, kind of with that whole, like, you know, you're not asking the right questions. I'm like, are we just going to sit around the campfire and go, hey, what's your deal?
Yeah, definitely. Totally. Absolutely like that. And I would like to say, for me, is that when you're doing your session 0 and your players are discussing things, I also think it's important for, like, the players and DM to discuss about, all right, what is the party makeup? What is all the classes you all are choosing and everything? And also kind of, like, and ask like a little bit of like their general vibe and everything of the character, and if it seems like everything is like kind of like meshing well, that's good. And if it's some things that people are like, oh well, it's not, I don't think that would like click with my character and stuff, it's okay to adjust and everything during session 0 because it is a game. You're not locked into it permanently. It is, you can like re-aspect anything at any time, like with the DM and players, so it is all good. And also like I don't, if everyone somehow chooses all clerics in a game and the DM is like, hey, I don't know if it's a good idea for everyone to be clerics in here, but if you guys are okay with it, we could rock with it. And if the player's like, yeah, let's totally do it, then that's good. But if there are players out there like, okay, we have all these classes here and we don't have these specific ones, are we going to be okay? Shouldn't we have like someone who's a little bit more on this edge and everything? And that's like a nice discussion to have, and then the DM to take note of like, all right, this is how I'm going to like build like the social encounters, the environmental encounter, the exploring encounters, and like physical encounters as well and everything.
I'm actually so glad you mentioned that. So as someone who has been in a party of mostly Rose, whoops, you know, and I've said this before, that D&D does not give you a lot of variety to have multiples of the same class. It's really tough. But let's assume you're going to play D&D or another system that doesn't have a lot of variety in that kind of way. I think at session 0, you need to have a discussion with the other players of which of your rogues is going to take survival checks, which one's going to take stealth checks, like or persuasion, etc. Like let your party know at the top what you're good at.
Exactly.
And I feel like in real life this is also something we do where we're like, you give off the vibe of being cute and small and charming or whatever, so you go talk to them. You know, you seem like you're a good liar. You go ahead. Like, you know, you can pull these things when you're around people in real life because you can catch a vibe from somebody.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that when you're not really that person and you're not really with these people. Because, again, you're looking at it through, like, a weird, like, second person perspective. You know, so, again, like, I don't know what questions to ask somebody. Like, I think about, like, Sherlock Holmes in the Robert Downey Jr. movies. He clocks that that Watson's fiance has a tan line from a ring. I don't see that. So, like, that's something that you need to tell me, like, explicitly for me to pick up on. That kind of thing. And so, similarly, like, you know, oh, you look like you're rugged. You wear flannels. You go do the survival check because you can probably find plants that we can eat. Versus, you know, you look a little pristine and that you haven't been in nature. You don't look like you've ever touched grass. So we're going to put you in deception performance category. Like, things like that. And so, like, definitely say, like, this is, you know, again, a little bit of metagaming is good. So who has the best bonus for these different things? If you're going to do that, if you're going to have multiples of the same class, highly recommend having, like, this person is good at this skill check. And this is the second best person, lore-wise, to then give the help action. Because then you don't feel redundant.
Because, like, Dimension 20 does this a lot of, like, doing these help actions with other players when it comes to certain role-playing and, like, checks and everything. Emily Axford is actually really good at this, because I've been watching Starstruck Odyssey.
You could have just stopped it at Emily Axford is really good. She's amazing.
Just a literal goddess, just a literal deity and everything. You can learn a lot from, like, watching her being able to, like, play with, like, everybody, getting everyone involved, and actually using her help actions and, like, doing stuff to, like, talk with the DM. Can I, like I just got with a Gnosis and everything, and just, like, got in the drive check and everything on the worst and everything, and she was like, "Hey, can I, like, give the person who's rolling this check, who's a lot more better and more story wise, makes sense to do it, my proficiency to do it and everything." So good, just this is. Go ahead.
I'll say too on, like, you mentioned, like, Oops All Clerics specifically. That's another. If you have any of the same kind of spellcaster, what spells do they have? What are their preferred spells? If you have two wizards, you've just doubled the spell book, baby. Like, that's awesome. But which one of you is the attack wizard and which one of you is the buff wizard?
Exactly. What is your I'm gonna just say, like, MMORPG style right here. Who is the tank? Who is the DPS? Who is the support? And who is the face? What is the roles for everyone is, like, comfortable and wanting to do and everything, and that kind of, like, helps provides of being like, so you don't have, like, the one. Go ahead.
I was going to say, once again, a little metagaming is good, because especially in the context of wizards, you are, in theory, reading your spells before you go to bed to prep your spells for the next morning.
Exactly.
So your fellow wizard or whatever, you know, spellcaster that has similar spells can go, "Hey, what you reading? What you looking at?" Translated, meaning, what spells are you taking so I don't take the same ones? A little metagaming is good, and it has lore accuracy.
Oh, that's got to be, like, merch for us right there. A little metagaming is good. Oh, God. We need to make that a sticker.
That is my hardline stance. A little metagaming is good.
Hells to the yes. I will stand by that as well, with swords, shields, flamethrowers, magic missiles, whatever, and just be like, "Come at us, huh?" Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's pretty much about it with like comes to session zero. Because this is like the other coin of session zeros. Because we talked a lot about like session zeros for safety reasons, for like for everyone to be safe. So this is like really the good aspect of the other side of it, of like what it really does of like helping out game wise and everything, not just safety wise.
Helping your narrative, making sure the party gels and that they're all in the same storyline.
Yes, and one more tidbit for me. I think also with Session Zero is also like the good like vibe check as well. And if you're a player or DM who's getting kind of like the general bad vibe from another player and everything, and that they like message other people to be like, hey, something's not up, they're not really clicking with the choices that's going on and everything. It's okay to be like, hey, we don't think you're going to be a good match for this group and everything. I'm sorry. I hope you find a different group and everything with a different game that matches what you're trying to do and stuff. It's very much like that. It's like callbacks in a way with session zeros and everything, but nothing is predate set in stone, everything. Mm-hmm. It is very much, and if like something comes up and everything, it's good to have like those talks of with other people and stuff and be like, okay, how do we feel? So,
Yeah, and I highly recommend, especially if you're doing a session zero like online with people you might not know very well, because I assume if you're doing a home game and you're inviting people over to your house, you probably know them okay. Yeah. And maybe they've met before, maybe they haven't, but I think you can get a read on like which of your friends are going to get along. Yes. But that said, if you're doing this online, especially, I highly recommend your session zero needs to have a chit chat block.
Exactly.
Where you do the safety tools, you do the party gel, party character creation, things like that. But then you also just have time to like sit and yip yap with each other and get to know your fellow players. Mm-hmm. You know, where are you from? What do you do for work? Do the small talk so you can later get to the deep dark secrets. But as stated prior.
Exactly.
But then you get a good idea for like who in like not IRL, but like who is going to gel and who might bounce off the other well. And if somebody on that group keeps butting in every time someone else speaks, that's probably going to be an issue. Yes,
absolutely. Definitely. It's do all that, GMs.
Yep. Yeah. And again, you know, to talk about the, you know, you don't want the jokey joke with the, you know, the in earnest storytelling. Like, sometimes they're just like, okay, I'm not willing to make another character. Great, I will have you on the next game I do. That's more for that.
Yeah, definitely.
I was literally thinking about this. I did a Pokemon D&D one-shot one time. Okay. And someone came in with, like, this character with, like, a whiskey flask. And I was like, hey, buddy, you're 10. You do know you're 10, right?
Damn!
Oh. So, like, and it was so... And he was like, oh, I didn't know that, actually. And I was like... It was so funny. And I think about it so fondly, but it was one of my favorite, like, silly moments that ever happened at a table. But that said, like, yeah, that's something to talk about in session zero. Are you 10 years old and can you drink yet?
Yes, exactly. Like, there are, like, adult, like, Pokemon trainers, but typically you're like 10 years old and, like, all the games as your main character going through. Yeah. God, that's hilarious.
So, but in that kind of story, like, you don't want, you know, goth edgy edgelord that has a whiskey flask in like a Dora the Explorer game.
Oh god, poor Dora.
So like certain things just don't need to mix, and that's okay. That's not a problem. It just means that maybe that character's for a different campaign.
Exactly. And yeah, and if you're in your player and you realize during session zero, like, oh, this character I really want to play is not meshing, it's okay to say, like, hey, I'm a bounce. I appreciate you guys coming in here and, like, inviting me to the table, but probably not going to mesh with me, with my character and stuff. I will find a different campaign. DM, if you got something else coming up, let me know and stuff. So, yeah, definitely do that. Definitely do that. So
One One thing too, I will say in session 0, that made me think of is something that's helpful. It's not necessarily like a requirement, but I find it very helpful is to have a way that your character can leave.
Yes.
Because especially if like you know something's gonna happen, like you have this concert you've already paid for, or whatever. Like there will be times that you can't make the session, and that's okay.
Exactly.
But I think kind of having a system in place for that, and that's something to discuss. Is like, is the DM going to pilot your character? Is someone else going to pilot your character? If so, who? Or is there some way that your character is going to exit gracefully and then come back?
Yeah.
Or your character can get sick and then we can do a one-shot of the other party members trying to find the right thing to heal you. That could be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah. Are there any other closing remarks you want to talk about? Not one shots. Oh, Lord. Session 0. Bonus episode. One shot. Back to back. No, God,
yep,
no.
Exactly.
No.
I think that's it from me. Again, I've said it many times. I'll say it again. A little metagaming is good.
Special effects. Yeah, definitely double what you said and everything and all that stuff. And GMs, you do your homework. Do your homework. It's okay. It's okay. I know we don't like homework and everything, unless you are one of those nerds that do like it. But
I'm literally gonna get off this call and go to my DM and work.
But yes, do your homework. If you're not good at doing it alone, find a co-working buddy and everything, and just vibe in VC and everything. So yeah. But yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the season finale of Roll to Talk and everything. I've been greatly appreciating you guys just checking out our stuff and everything. You guys are all freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
Special. Yes. Also, a special thank you to Witty X Witch here for being co-host and everything and all that stuff, because you are just like really, really cool, and the vibes and the thoughts and the perspectives you provide into this everything is so freaking cool and insightful, and it makes me go, oh damn, I didn't think about that. Oh damn, that's cool. Tell me more. Just slide you on the stage, give you the spotlight, the speakerphone and everything, and say it.
I love all the brainwaves you've had this episode.
God, I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the day now. Am I going to get like a brave wave crash? What's going to happen here?
Brain freeze. Time to have some ice cream.
No!
But no,
yeah, that'll be nice.
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been so fun. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I can't wait for season 2. So,
exactly.
Yeah, this has been very good.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody, thank you for listening. My name is Dice&Autism. You guys can follow me on the net as Dice&Autism. All the socials and all that stuff are the same everywhere and all that stuff. But yeah, Witty, where can people follow and find you and stuff?
Follow, find. There's really so many F's in that. Super get it.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of W's. I am Witty X Witch. You can find me on any social that I'm on under that tag. You can also find me on Saturdays at World Tree Quests, as I plugged earlier in the episode. You can find me on Star Raven's podcast, and Dicey Tables podcast is out now as well. So I'm on that one. That is officially live as of 2 days ago.
Hells yeah!
Would be December 3rd. So not nice. 2 days ago in posting, but whatever, it's fine. Time is a weird soup.
Yes.
I think that's all my stuff. Is that all my stuff?
All right. Yeah.
I think that's all my stuff.
Awesome. So, thank you all for listening, watching, wherever you are checking this out and everything, and we will see you guys next time with season 2. All right, chat. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.